hope she cheat on you with a basketball player. Hope that she Kim Kardashian her way up. Don't know the difference between a touchdown and a layup. Got you on Viagra in order for you to stay up. I may sound bitter, I'm a little bitter, just a little bitter, because you were with her. I'm Salt Lake City, now I'm up on the picture. Remember how it was when I was with you, baby. Sex so good, do you remember? Oh, baby, sex so good, do you remember? Oh, well look at how it all turned out now. I hope she cheat on you with the basketball player. How it all turned out now. I hope you're feeling lonely, baby, now we're not together. How it all turned out now. I hope she cheat on you with the basketball player. How it all turned out now. Now that I'm without you, I hope she cheat on you with an NFL baller. She ignores you every single time you call her. Brand new Louis, gotta have it, spend your money on her. When you wanna hit it, she acting like she don't want her. I may sound bitter, I'm a little bitter, just a little bitter, because you were with her. Salt Lake City, now I'm up on the picture. Remember how it was when I was with you, baby. It's so good, do you remember? Oh, baby, sex so good, do you remember? Baby, well look at how it all turned out now. I hope she cheated on the basketball player. How it all turned out now. Yeah, hope you're feeling lonely, baby. How it all turned out now. I hope she cheated on you with the basketball player. How it all turned out now. She cute and all, but that won't last forever. What I had for you was so much better. Yeah, the grass ain't greener on the other side of town. Now look at how it all turned out. Now I'm a little bitter, just a little bitter, but I'm doing better, cause we ain't together. You sorry excuse for somebody I was into. Remember what it was when I was with you. Look at how it, 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 look at how it.
So lonely, though there were so many summers waiting. I'm so glad that this ain't that. Girl, you're the only reason I can make it through the long, long day, and that's a fact. Baby, I can't wait to get next to you. Oh, I can't wait to wrap my arms around your body. Baby, I can't help but tell the truth. Oh, it's so hard to wait till no one else is around. Gonna try to keep myself together till I find ourselves in you. Baby, no. Before they take you back to heaven, gonna find myself in you. No, I hate to keep you waiting, but there are some things that need my attention before I can get back to you. Anticipating, my hands all over your body, baby, you know, I know just what to do. And baby, I can't wait to get next to you. Oh, I can't wait to wrap my arms around your body. Baby, I can't help but tell the truth. Oh, it's so hard to wait till no one else is around. I'm gonna try to keep myself together till I find myself in you. Baby, no.
the wall. I see your eyes are saying, ooh, let's take it back to the way it was, how we know it should be. Ooh, we'll turn down the lights real low, take it nice and slow. We'll make sure the mood is right as we sit by the fireside, look in each other's eyes and make love to our favorite song. That's how it'll work. It's been so long since we've been this way. The good times we had somehow stray. Let's put our love back, put love in back how it used to be in the days of true romance. Give it that loving like you used to do. Give me that old school loving, I know you want to. Give me that old school loving in that special way. Old school love. Ooh, back in the day, a man would treat a woman like he knew he should. On the phone all night, the morning light surprising her with flowers, and they know she'd go crazy for. Ooh, it's been so long since we've been this way. Since we've been this way. Time that we went straight up. Baby, I would like to know you better. Come on, tell me, when can we get together? To be all alone. Come over to my place, relax and chill. Do what you feel. Do what you feel, baby. Come over to my place. Have no fear. What you wanna say? Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. The mood is set for us tonight. Feels so right. Baby, every wish is my command.
Welcome to Guy Talk. Welcome to Guy Talk.
Love is ready, come on.
Guy Talk Unhinged.
Come over to my place, baby. Relax.
DJ Richie Rich.
Yeah.
Big homie.
Do what you feel.
All my people checking in.
Come over.
Let us know how you feeling. How was your week, y'all? How was your week?
Have no fear. What you wanna say? Oh yeah. Come over to my place.
Feel free to comment anytime, y'all.
Oh, do what you feel.
Richie Rich, we got you some sanctified baby oil.
Over to my place.
Courtesy of Guy Talk Unhinged.
What you wanna say? Right here, right here. I'm waiting.
We're starting a good show in just a few minutes, y'all.
Baby,
Make sure you get comfortable.
sweet thing, waiting.
Happy Sunday,
Come on,
Caramel.
lover.
Good evening.
Oh, come over to my place, baby. I don't care how you come, just come to me, baby. Oh, waiting.
That's right.
Waiting, how you feel, what you wanna say? Come on, baby, relax and chill. Waiting,
see you around. But now I think it's time to take some time out. Baby, you smile now.
What's up? So, you guys, we are going to go ahead and get started. And welcome to I Talk Unhinged. So, I just posted a comment in the chat and it said, "Thank you all for coming. Thank you guys all for coming. And for those of you that would say hi to me when I visited your room and you would say salute or what's up, dude, I am a girl. So I'm so glad you came and you can see that I'm a woman. I've always been a woman. I am not a dude. I'm a woman. I'm so glad we got that clear. And my name is God Talk Unhinged because I am Dr. Tanisha Guy. Welcome to Guy Talk Unhinged. Now that that's out the way, let's go ahead and let me introduce my co host, and then we'll introduce our guests. So, my co host, she is a licensed marriage and family therapist, and she is our expert in relationships, Miss Fatima Lawan Muse.
Hi, Dr. Guy. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again today. I'm excited about this topic, and I think people will be surprised to hear my thoughts.
You know what? I'm going to be surprised to hear your thoughts, Miss I don't know. Yes, DJ Richie Rich. I know everybody was calling me a dude, so you wasn't the only one. I was getting a whole bunch of salutes in every room. They was like salute me all day, so you wasn't by yourself. Okay, so we have some two amazing guests with us tonight, and so I'm going to introduce our first guest, and because I'm really excited to hear what he's going to say. So our first guest is Dr. Mustafa. So he's joining us. So Dr. Mustafa, thank you for joining us tonight.
Hey, Dr. Guy, how are you? Hey, everybody.
I know you're not feeling well, so thank you for joining in as long as you can stay. I really do appreciate that. And again, I am looking forward to hearing your thoughts on our topic tonight.
Thank you.
Fatima, please introduce our second guest for tonight.
We having some sound issues.
Her mic's muted.
Sorry. Okay. Introduce our soror and a fellow mental health professional, Chanel. I'm very excited that she is joining us today. I think that she is incredibly outspoken. I always enjoy hearing her thoughts, and I also want us to hurry up and jump in because Chanel actually, unfortunately, is going to have to leave us early. So I want to hurry up and hear what she has to say.
Thanks.
So let's get to it. Hey, Sora, thank you for joining us tonight.
Hi,
so our topic for tonight is chivalry dead? So we've talked about this before on our previous show, and we're bringing it back because I hear a lot of men who talk about this because apparently they have their own thoughts about this. So if you're listening in the chat, if you think that chivalry is dead, put a 1 in the chat. If you think that chivalry is still alive, put a 2 in the chat. So if you think chivalry is dead, put a 1. If you think that chivalry is still alive, put a 2. All right, let's get right to our guests. Ladies first. Chanel, what are your thoughts about is chivalry dead?
I don't know that it is necessarily dead. It may have just shapeshifted a little. So it could be that the way in which we understood chivalry in the past, or maybe within even the last few years, is maybe there's a different understanding of it now, and how men pursue, you know, women, and how they court and all of that kind of stuff. So I don't know that it's dead. I think that maybe we have to examine how we define it at this point.
Okay. So you say no, it's not dead. Dr. Mustafa, what do you say?
Am I heard? Can I be heard? You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I'm almost in agreement with that. I think that it has to be defined in terms of Black male-female relationships. It's a concept for me that is more European than anything else, and as a result, how we look at it and how that then translates into the way we naturally have relationships, I think is going to be a little different. So re-examined, redefined, etc.
Okay, so
These
both
are the
of you,
short.
so both of you kind of said what it looks like for us. So what does that look like?
I'm going to pass it off to the other guesses to hear his thoughts first, because I have to think about that.
Okay, so, and I think that has to be part of it. It has to be a part of this understanding that it is, if it is to take place, or what we understand chivalry to be, if it is to take place, then it has to be something that is defined by the people who are experiencing it. So it cannot be, I do not think that it is culturally inclusive in the sense where all of us are doing the exact same thing and call it this. Some people aren't requiring this, others are requiring this or that, you know, et cetera. And so that being the case, it makes it a little bit difficult. However, there are some, what I would consider to be basics, right? That need to occur in order for harmony to develop within a relationship. But I think that we'll come back to that in a little bit.
All right. Fatima, go ahead and jump in.
We're having audio. We can't hear you.
I'm sorry. What I'm gonna say is very long-winded. So first, let me ask Chanel: Have you settled on your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I would say that I agree with Dr. Mustafa, and that context is everything in this particular case. And so for one person, it may, like, how they define chivalry might look a little bit different than how someone else defines chivalry, especially when you add, you know, like that cultural layers. So within our community, how does chivalry play out versus in other communities? So I think that, and yeah, there are some baseline things, I guess, that would be considered like a standard across the board, but
like what, Chanel? What's a baseline? Give me an example.
Baseline, I was going to say, like, just the general ways in which maybe a man might reach out, or like if he's interested in a woman, how he may reach out, or how he might, you know, like pursue her. But I can't even say that that's even like a standard kind of thing, because it looks so different when you think about in person versus now. How do you know, express interest and court in the day and age of social media? That kind of communication could look a little bit different. So standard, opening a door opening a door for someone, maybe. I think that's pretty.
It seemed kind of hard to come up with the standard of what chivalry is, because I think everyone has this different definition of what it looks like to them. So maybe standard is opening the door. Fatima, I don't know what you were going to go with.
Yeah, no. So first, kind of jumping on what was said earlier, right? So the idea of chivalry was born out of a code of honor for medieval knights. And so it's an expected behavior. Like, so we're looking for people who are men or knights who show courage, who are courageous, who have honor and valor, who are courteous, right? Ideals of justice and what that looks like. People who are willing and ready to help the weak, and of course, damsels in distress. So if you take that concept and bring it into more of a modern day concept, and we think about men being chivalrous, we can still take those ideals of honor, integrity, courage, justice, courtesy, and we can still apply that to modern day men. So how does that look, and how does that show up in dating? Now, I think for some women that may look different. I think there are like some maybe colloquial things, or maybe colloquial is the wrong word, but depending on where you're from, like where I'm from, it looks like, what a baseline thing would be. Does he open doors? Does he pull out chairs? Does he lay down his jacket so you can walk over a puddle? So,
I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that.
He might not lay down a jacket, but he might pick you up and carry you over the puddle. Now that happens,
yes.
right? Right.
Absolutely. And I in fact, but getting back to, it looks different in where you're from. I think sometimes women have to be especially careful, because what we're told in our neck of the woods and when we grow up is chivalrous. The man you are seeing might not be from that area, and maybe those aren't the messages that he got. So case in point, when I was a young, hot 20-something, and I was on a date with this guy, and I have an expectation that when I'm walking down the street with a man, he is going to make sure I'm on the inside. Right. And for people who may not know what that means that he's walking closer to the street side. And so I'm walking down the street with this guy, and I'm like, okay, he's not doing this. And so I'm like trying to maneuver and make sure I always get on the other side. And it really bothered me. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to go out with him again. Like, this is not. And I ended up at sometime later having a conversation with him. And he was like, I've never heard that before. That's not something that I'm familiar with. Now, he was great. He did other things that was really great. And so in that moment, like, I realized, like, this might not necessarily be common everywhere. And so I would just caution women to not be so hard about, like, well, this is what chivalry is supposed to look like, without having a conversation with your partner or the person that you're dating and being clear about what your expectations are as far as what chivalry looks like and what you desire.
Fatima, I'm going to say something, but before I say that, unfortunately, I'm going to go ahead and let our other co-host, Steve J, go ahead and get in there.
What's happening, everybody? I'm a little tardy to the party, but I'm definitely here. Nice to see all of the esteemed colleagues and guests here tonight. I just caught Miss LaJuan Muse's hot girl story of her 20s. And I would like to reiterate some of the sentiment about chivalry, because, and if I can ask Miss LaJuan Muse, where does it come from where the man walks on the outside, and why is that?
Wait, before you answer that, Fatima. So Fatima said that it may be a cultural thing, and that the gentleman hadn't heard of that. So Fatima is from New Orleans. I am from Chicago. And when I tell you, I grew up with that same mindset. So when I walk with a man, I automatically switch to the inside, because I saw my father move to the outside with me and my mother. So to say that that's a culture thing, I can't say that, because Chicago and New Orleans are nowhere near each other.
Maybe it's not fairly regional, but rather maybe within our, like, with a Black cultural thing that goes across state lines.
DJ Richard.
So if you will indulge me in my question, we can actually get to the origin.
Wait. Okay. So DJ Richard is saying in Detroit, the woman also walks on the inside. So I would say, I can't even say it's a Midwest thing, because Fatima, in New Orleans, you're saying that. So Z Lady is saying in Texas that happened.
This guy was from the East Coast, so I've also experienced this when I lived in LA with men on the West Coast. So I just assumed that it was regional, but if I'm not mistaken, it's born from during was it Jim Crow? Men would walk closer to the outside so as to protect the women if there were things being thrown or an attack. That I think is where it comes from, but enlighten me, Steve, because clearly you have the answer.
So, it starts 1800s where women would have your petticoats and long skirts. And this was to keep them from getting mud and whatnot splashed upon them. Also, if we think about the baby in the bathwater and what the sanitary system was during that time, people would be throwing the water out of houses and whatnot. So this was the woman walked on the outside so she wouldn't get the bathwater and such thrown upon her, and also to keep her from getting dirty from those things. So what I'm going to jump in and talk about the chivalry aspect is a lot of it is just outdated. There's no real reason for you to walk those places.
Say what?
There was a practicality to it. The reason why men opened doors is because physically they were too heavy for women to open. If we talk about car doors and what the doors were on buildings, they were made out of wrought iron and a lot of things that were extremely heavy. So women really couldn't open the door. So, if we go back to those things, then there was a utility for what you are actually referring to as chivalry. And it was also because women were acknowledged as the lesser sex because they didn't have as many rights and privileges as we currently have now. I'm not going to say running amok, but, there are some privileges that are not necessarily in the same vein. So, what we talk about with chivalry is it was to assist a lesser capable or lower individual. And I've had this conversation with Dr. Guy. So what you tend to find now is because the generations of the millennials and whatnot, they don't see women as lesser individuals. They see them as people they're competing with, whether it's for resources or jobs. So you don't get that same type of consideration when you're competing with men, because you are considered more of a threat than during that period of time. Even if, like I say, we go back to the 70s, women didn't really even have credit yet. So, as we kind of look forward, you can't expect to have the same privileges and rights without having some things you have to give up as well.
You know what? I really I'm glad you said that, because that's actually what I was making reference to before you got here, brother. When I start talking about things with regard to culture, I mean that was a part of European culture during the Middle Ages and et cetera, right? It was, and this is something that we as Black folks have adopted here. It's and what I'm talking about is seeing women as less than, right? Is that someone said in the thing that chivalry is synonymous with patriarchy. That is exactly true. Where there was no harmonious relationship between the two genders, right? Between masculine and feminine, it wasn't a harmonious relationship. It was something that was seen as superordinate and subordinate. So as a result, this had to occur. Now, this doesn't mean that we should not open a door necessarily. It doesn't mean we shouldn't necessarily, if that's what you want. And that's what I said, it's a conversation. It has something that has to be defined between people. This is what you want. Why are you expecting this? But at the same time, there's harmony in thought as well. If we're going to argue this, then we don't argue it in the same way of saying, well, hold on, I still want you to open my door, but I'm this too. Maybe I'm more equal, or however this occurs. You say, well, you do know where this came from, right? This comes from a place where I'm doing this because you're not strong, but yet you want for us to you want to run the same races men, you don't want this to occur. So I mean, I think there's a lot of things that need to be teased out in this if we're going to say that this is something we need to continue to do in that way.
I want to hop in and share one more thought before I have to go, because I'm so excited about this conversation and I wish I could stay longer, because I don't know if I'm in the camp alone on this one, but as someone who is divesting from patriarchy pretty much at this point, there are things that I don't necessarily require or things that I don't necessarily expect from guys that I am not even like dating, but just generally. I've had so many times now where if I reach for the door like a guy friend, or they'll just kind of look, I'm like, all right, you got it. You can do it. Because that's something, culture, like how you were raised to respond. And I will respect that totally. But it's not like an expectation. And that's not to say that anything's wrong with the practices themselves. I think that if they are something that is comfortable, and that's especially within your relationship dynamic, those are the expectations you have of each other. That is perfectly fine. But I don't necessarily expect them anymore, or think that they are necessarily a requirement or a defining factor of your manhood, only because I'm not necessarily a fan of patriarchy anymore. So that's my last thought.
Chanel,
when does being a man relate to patriarchy? How do those two things intersect, as y'all like to say? Because go ahead.
Oh, well, sure. So, I mean, I think that a lot of things in which that a lot of guys think are inherent behaviors stem from patriarchy. Like, they're not something that you're supposed to do or have to do. It's just a cultural thing that it was devised, comes from a Eurocentric place for sure. But, like the things that people attach to their manhood. So a lot of men may think, being chivalrous is a part of their manhood, is a defining factor within their manhood, to be able to open doors and to walk on a certain side. So I'm not saying that necessarily that they are attached in the sense that, it has, like, your manhood and patriarchy are one and in the same. But when you look at how a lot of guys engage and interact and view the world and, just all of those things, I think patriarchy informs a lot of that. Therefore, I can't necessarily say that it does not, those things, they intersect, if that makes sense, but not for everybody. But
right. And so therefore women have been victims of that mentality, is what you're saying. So because those that require these things from men, they've been subjected upon by the thought process of patriarchy, and so they are now requiring this to occur from their men.
Oh, we've all been brought up under patriarchy. It's the way in which our world, like, it evolves around patriarchy.
So let me give you something. Mm-hmm. Is what we're talking about is white patriarchy, and we're talking about it in turn as another form of white supremacy. Mm-hmm. That's what we're talking about. Because when we start talking about men and black men have been victims of this as well. As I made a statement earlier, what I talked about is in our history, we existed harmoniously, right? Men and women are twin halves of one another, and we represent the God itself, right? And so as a result, these things didn't occur. This is something we learned from being here, right? And so we've been victims of it as well. I just wanted to throw that out there before you go. That's all.
Yeah, no, sure. I hear you. So, and I don't, but I know that we've definitely been brought up under white supremacy, and I'm no anthropologist, so I can't speak to all of this, but I don't want to then romanticize other cultural practices, because, yes, our African-American ancestors, they existed under patriarchy, but if you look at different cultures that have not been, kind of like informed by white patriarchy, there are still forms of patriarchy in other, indigenous, like in Africa and other places, like it's everywhere. And so,
Chanel,
yes.
Now, I know that you have an appointment, and if you continue to talk, Dr. I'll let you go. So, Flora, you will be back, and I will have him back, so you guys can continue the dialogue. I don't want you to miss your appointment, because I promise you, he won't stop. He won't let you go, and you're going to continue the dialogue with him.
I know, and I'm going to be so late, but
right, you're going to be so late. So I want you to leave so you can make it to your appointment, and I promise you, I'll have you and Mustafa back on another show.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. You guys have a great night.
Thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead and take our first break and give you guys a breather for a second. And then after the break, I have an important announcement that I am so excited about because I am new to this Twitch thing. I think it's been like 2 weeks. We've switched over to this platform. So I'm still learning about how it works over here in Twitch land. But what I do want to say is, can somebody please help me understand why people are so loyal to their other social media platforms? Because I didn't do social media ever before last year. And so all of social media is really new to me. So I'm learning that people won't leave their other social media platforms. And I don't understand. So if people were as loyal to their relationships as they were to their social media platforms, Fatima and I probably wouldn't have jobs because they wouldn't come to therapy. So if anybody out there in Twitch land can tell me how to get people from Facebook and Instagram to bring their narrow behinds over to Twitch, I would be so grateful because I don't even know how to get them to come over here. But with that being said, DJ Pharaoh, take us to a break.
Y'all are definitely listening to Guy Talk Unhinged. Thank y'all so much. And for the listeners not commenting, that's okay. But you could drop a hello. It's okay. It doesn't hurt y'all. Come on.
When you want all the love you deserve,
DJ Richie Rich, I see you.
and the heat's on your mind, don't you even think about it. I'll be there just to wrap around you. I can't hold back what I feel inside. It's just a fact that you should be mine. Anything you want, you got to hold about my love.
That's right.
Hold about me, you should be mine. Anything you want, you got to hold about my love. You hold about me. And you won't, and you won't, and you won't, should be mine, all mine. Any way that your heart has been denied, ooh, you can come to me. Every time that we're together just confirms the good thing we got. And something this good can't be defined. One thing's for sure, that you should be mine. Anything you want, you got to hold about my love. You hold about me, you should be mine. Anything you want, you got to hold about my love. You hold about me. And you won't.
Chivalry is not
And
there.
you won't. And you won't. Should be mine, all mine. And you won't. And you won't. And you won't. Should be mine. In the height of your worry, where it's running too deep for you. When it all comes too much, I'll pull you through.
Fellas, if y'all got ladies, do something romantic for them this week. All right?
I see us in the park,
Like holding the door.
in the summer days of imaginings in my head and words from my heart,
DJ Pharaoh.
told only to the wind, veiled even without being said. I don't wanna bore you with trouble. There's something about your love that makes me weak and knocks me off my feet.
God talk on here.
There's something about your love that makes me weak and knocks me off my feet. Knocks me off my feet. I don't wanna bore you with it. Oh, but I love you, I love you, I love you. I don't wanna bore you with it. Oh, but I love you, I love you, I love you. More and more. Yes, love even
God talk on here, baby.
Kissing you is not enough for me. You know I'm a big boy, and big boys have desires. Making love is what I wanna do, but I need a true friend to make it come together.
Thank y'all for tuning in.
Oh, your love.
Stay tuned, man. We got so much more to come.
I wanna kiss you right there, just in right there, little girl. Give you where, especially there and there. So I ask of you, I'm not trying to put you on the line, but I gotta tell you what's exactly on my mind, girl. My big heart leads me right to you. Every time the phone rings, I pray to God that it's you, girl. Every time I close my eyes, a vision of your face always pops into my mind, girl. I would do anything to receive love from you.
Brown eyes, thanks for the bits.
Show me the way that this could happen soon.
Guy bits.
I'll be right there all the time. Show me for mine. Just show me the way.
Thank y'all all for the support.
I really love you, Deja. I love you, Deja. Just give me all your love. Give me everything. I'm sure
We about to get back to the show, y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Stay tuned, though.
Champion lover, no, he's up tonight. No, champion lover, nicely up tonight.
DJ Farrell, that was really relaxing. Thank you so much. All right. So, big announcement is that we are now an affiliate. So exciting. So exciting. So, since we are new to Twitch, and for some of my listeners who came with me from our old platform, you guys have no idea what affiliate means. So, let me try to explain. So Twitch has levels to their system, and they have things that you need to do to make affiliate. And once you make affiliate, then you can get subscribers, which is really nice. And once you get subscribers, you can also get emojis made. And along with getting emojis, people can then like tip you. And the tips are called bits. And people can purchase them. They're down at the bottom of the screen where you post comments. And so it's really nice that we made affiliate, because we've been on for like 2 weeks now. And so we're really excited about that. So if you haven't already, please follow, and also please subscribe and come back and make sure you hit your notifications. So we're excited about that, you guys. Okay. back to the discussion. All right. So Mustafa, I think you had some stuff that you want to say before we went to break.
Yeah, you know what? And then something happened. I felt like there was something very echoing, chivalrous that occurred during the DJ segment. I feel like he said something like, "Okay, we're listening to some song, and it was now go do something for your lady," you know, something like that. I mean, isn't that? I mean, like that expectation in and of itself, isn't that barking up this same tree that we've said we're not real sure what we're supposed to do with this, right? And so, I mean, that's just a question. I mean, and this is what I'm talking about as far as how something is been ingrained into our culture. It's a part of the indoctrination that we've all received. Now, once again, because we're not all going to be the same way. Some people are going to stick with this thing, and they're going to say, no, well, I don't care if the door weighs less than a feather. I still want it open for me. You know, or I'm still going to want you to pull my chair out, you know, and push it back in or whatever it is. There's going to be people that's going to want that, you know, but what happens when you, what I guess my argument is that then you don't define manhood as someone who doesn't do it, but maybe just a simple variation within the culture we are attempting to establish right here.
So, okay. So are you saying that you don't think that we need this anymore? Are you agreeing with Steve?
Whoa.
That's scary.
So Steve is on the record as saying that chivalry died when submission died.
So I will repeat my question. Are you saying you agree with Steve?
I just wanted to clarify my point, so
yes,
you're not confused about what you're agreeing to.
That's correct.
Okay. I have a comment. So first, I have a couple comments, but I want to read something that was sent to me in response to the walking on the outside or so the comment is, it's the position of honor. The strongest warriors were always on the right side because most folks were right-handed. In the military, even now, the person with the most rank walks to the right. So there's something to consider. The other comment that I have is I loved everything about what Chanel said. And I feel like I was thinking most people probably were going to think that was the line that I was going to take. But the reason that I love what she said is because I've had conversations.
Wait, pause. Did you just say we have a hype train? Did I miss that? Oh my God. Okay, so because you guys, we're looking at stream and we're not looking through Twitch. But DJ Pharaoh just said we have a hype train, which is so exciting because this is our first hype train, which means we're getting bits and subscriptions. So that's super awesome, you guys. Like, it's our first hype train. That's amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much, DJ Pharaoh, for telling us, because like we didn't know, and like that's freaking amazing. So thank you guys so much that we got a hype train. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Fatima, but like, thanks. Okay.
I lost it.
I'm so sorry. I just want to make sure that, like, we knew this. Like, it's because of our viewers that we got a hype train. So we thank you so much. It's a level 3 hype train. So you guys are super amazing. Like, super amazing that we're like getting the level 3 hype train. This is like ridiculous. So awesome. Thank you. I'm sorry.
So if I would, while Fatima's gathering her thoughts, her pretty little thoughts, I will go ahead and kind of expound a little bit on the walking and my approach to it. It's more about just being aware of your surroundings. So if we're walking by a dark alley on your left, I don't stay on the right just because it's the right side. Like, you know, we are pretty much going to have to look at it from a standpoint of what makes the most sense at the time. And, you know, we can alternate from being on the right or left side, depending on the scenario or situation. I've run across a couple of situations where I've been on a date and the woman has wanted to assume the position with, you know, her Vision at the door and my back to the door. And, you know, that's always kind of been a problem because I've saw it as them wanting to protect themselves, because generally I'm the one that has the weapon. So, you know, if I'm the one with the weapon, why are you the one with the vision? Because you can't protect us. I can protect us. You're basically just trying to protect yourself. So, you know, it's a bunch of little things that kind of go into, you know, when we look at the idea of chivalry and why we're actually doing some of these things. Like Mufasa said, some of it's just we're ingrained to do it. I opened the door because, you know, my father opened the door and my father before him. And, you know, just like, I don't know if you've ever heard the story about the woman goes to cook the Thanksgiving ham and she cuts the ends off of it. And, you know, she asked her mother, why did she do it? She's like, well, grandma did that. And she asked grandma, why'd you cut the ends off the ham? And she was like, oh, baby, because the ham didn't fit in the pan. So here we got three generations later. There was a usefulness for the action, but now we're just doing it because grandmother did it. So, you know, in these wonderful, wonderful times, I think we need to be pretty intelligent and cognizant about why we're doing things and not just doing them because they were done before.
So, Steve, you brought up a point that I was actually going to ask people to respond to. So I would love for everyone who's watching to respond to this question, because Steve just made mention to it. And I'm asking this because this comes up very often in therapy. And for those of you that are new to our show, Fatima and I are both licensed clinicians. So we're both in private practice and we see clients. I've been in the mental health field now for 20 years. So I've been doing therapy for a very long time. And what comes up is this debate about who's going to sit with their back to the door. So my women will come in and will say, I don't want to sit with my back to the door. And my males will come in and say, I'm not sitting with my back to the door. So there are some times where women will go on dates and they'll refuse to sit to their back to the doors. So if you are a woman and you're in the chat, if you have to sit facing the door, put a 1 in the chat. If you are a man and you have to sit with your back, if you have to sit facing the door, put a 2. So women, if you need to see the door, put a 1. Men, if you need to see the door, put a 2. Something as simple as this has ended individuals from going on a second date because women have been very adamant about looking at the door. And men have been very adamant about saying, I'm not going to sit with my back to the door. And so when I talk to women about how important this is to a man, women will say, well, I don't know him and I don't trust that he's going to handle if a situation goes down. So immediately she has demasculated this man by forcing him to sit with his back to the door. But if we're talking about chivalry, the man leads by pulling out the chair so that she knows you're going to sit here and I'm going to watch the door. So in this scenario, he's taking the lead. You don't have to worry about her sitting in the chair so that she looks at the door because she now knows, oh, he got this.
So, Dr. Guy, as we always talk about, I've dated more women than you. And
clearly,
you can pull that door out, and them wild wildebeest will run right around the table.
Right on the other side. And for certain, this is what Sister was talking about earlier. No. Can you hear me? Wait. You hear what she was talking about earlier was that's that rejection of patriarchy. I think that's a lot of it. The other piece is not seeing a man as in this role as you were coming up in your dating piece and etc. Now, so brother said that chivalry died when submission died. The whole idea that that submission died has to do, I think, with more of rejecting what's considered to be patriarchy than anything else, right? And the truth is that it really is about I didn't see this, and you just can't you're not going to emasculate because you choose to sit someplace. manhood stays. That masculine identity will still stay. If I chose to sit here, that just means I'm looking back all the time.
I'm telling you what men tell me, Dr. Mustafa. I'm telling you what men tell me. They don't ask out for a second date.
I'm going to tell you how I handle that. You have a good night.
and no doubt.
Right, there's no second date.
There's no first date.
Right, and that's what he's saying.
He has a thing for wildebeest because he's always talking about the wildebeest, what the wild wildebeest will do. So clearly, he has a thing for them.
Oh no, there's some cute little bunny rabbits out there too. But you remember the wildebeest.
Okay.
You say which is their core love.
Yeah, you go to the circus and you remember the lions.
I remember the comment that I was going to make. I've had a lot of conversations with men who will say, I used to open the door, but I don't anymore because I went to open the door for a woman and she was like, I can open it myself. Or, you know, I've seen women get an attitude about opening a door. So now I'm like, you can open your own door. And my pushback to that is, don't allow somebody to change who you are. If you're opening the door because that's something you want to do, that woman didn't want the door open, right? So you take a Chanel who's saying like, these are things that I reject. That's okay. And she can reject that. That shouldn't change you. So don't do it. Don't do these things because that's not what she wants. But that doesn't mean that it has to go across the board for every woman. And I think that that's a problem, is that you have one negative interaction and then it's this broad stroke that now, okay, well, this is how all women feel, which isn't the case.
So I don't know if this is the case. I'm asking. And so maybe some of you guys that are listening, maybe you have more experience with this. As a man, if that was the case, because I'm not a man, but if I were a man, right, in 2021, and I'm basing this off of what I hear in my sessions, women today say some real messed up stuff about men as it relates to what they can do for themselves. So I would imagine that man encountered that more than one time. It wasn't like a one-off, that he's done that several times and he's held the door and several women have kind of blown him off, made him feel a certain way, right? I would imagine that it's not a one thing. But the flip side of that is that there's probably a lot of women that would like a gentleman to hold the door, but there's a different generation of men who have no idea that chivalry even existed because no one has even taught them to hold a door, pull out a chair, walk on the left side. They have no concept of that.
Right, but I'm not talking about those men. I'm talking about the men who are specifically saying, I changed the behavior. I don't do this anymore because I had interactions with a few women who didn't like it. But my point is, that's those women. How do you allow a few people to change who you are? I think that's a problem. If who you are, Steve, we know who you are.
What you're trying to do is saying that being chivalrous is what a man is.
Steve, first, I'm speaking. I'm specifically talking about men who have said to me they changed a behavior, that this is something that they did. They always did this. This is something that they did. And they changed it because they didn't like having this particular interaction with one or a few people. And I don't think that we should allow a negative interaction with one or a few people to change something about who we are. Like, if this is something that I do, something that I would like to do, but I'm just doing it now because I don't want to do it now because this woman was like, I can hold it open herself. She said she could hold it open herself. I think that's problematic.
Steve, and then Dr. Mustafa, I want you to jump in there.
So what we're saying, Fatima, is that's not who he is. That's something that he does two totally different things. That doesn't define him as there's a like I like raisins. That doesn't mean I don't like grapes and I don't eat grapes. It's just something that I will do. That doesn't define me as opening a door or not opening a door. It's not really that important to me. And if I have a negative interaction for opening the door, I'm adjustable enough to not open the door and figure out if that's something I need to do or not. It doesn't. And that's what I'm saying. I think what women do is you tie chivalry to manhood, and that's not what we're doing. We're just trying to figure out how this thing works.
Chivalry to manhood. I'm not tying chivalry to manhood because
if you were saying that I shouldn't let somebody change who I am, and I'm telling you it's not who I am to open the door, it's just something that I do, then you have to be tying those things together, because I'm telling you opening the door isn't who I am and what defines me. It's just something that I do. Just like Mustafa has on something around his neck. That's something that he likes. That doesn't define him. Or if he doesn't get up in the morning, he's not Mustafa. That's just something that he does. And I think you need to be able to separate what we do between what we are.
Steve is always on the red pill. But wait, Fatima, let's give Dr. Mustafa a chance to respond.
That was actually it. That was literally. There is a distinction there. There's literally a distinction between who we are and what we do. Right now, we would want for those things to be integrated. Right, you don't want to be functioning in an adjusted self, right, an adapted self or whatever. You want to function in your natural self, and that speaks to the type of person that you're with. And maybe that's why there's no completed first date or why no second date, because you begin to realize that, oh, you know what, we don't match. I can't be the natural me with you. And so since I can't be the natural me with you and you want me to be somebody who's unnatural to who I am, then we don't have any business together. It's not something that can be just what it is. On you, Fatima.
But that's kind of the point that I'm making. You don't like my language, Steve. Okay, don't change what you do. It's not who you are, it's what you do. But if this is something that you do and that you enjoy doing, because what I'm getting back is I would like to open the door. That's something I would like to do, but I don't do it because X. So that says to me, you are changing. You are changing something that you would like to be doing because you've had some bad interactions. And that's across the board. I don't think anybody should change behaviors that they enjoy because they've had negative interactions.
So what I'm saying is, I don't care to open the door or not. I'm ambivalent to the door. Like, I can give a shit about the door. It doesn't define me. It doesn't make me happy to open the door. It doesn't make me sad to open the door. So, it's not that I'm changing my behavior. I don't really care. I don't give a fuck about the door.
Okay, question, you guys.
I don't give a fuck about you giving a fuck about the door, because this isn't about you. I said this is about men I've had conversations with.
Question.
Oh my God. That's my DJ.
So if we're talking about is Chivalry dead, it's like half and half. Some people are saying yes. C says it died when submission died. Others are saying no, it hasn't died. It's just a certain group of people still, do it. People who are taught. Is there a purpose for it?
There used to be.
Is there a purpose for it today? Does it serve a purpose?
Yes.
Really.
Yes.
Dr. Mustafa,
well,
what's the purpose today?
One of the things that we've seen over the last year, 2 years, if we've seen a growth of sisters carrying weapons. And so, you got a purse, so maybe you want to walk closer to the alley, and so is there a purpose? Otherwise, if you don't have no weapon and you ain't never, scrapped one day in your life, then you should probably let me be on this side, because, they're going to take both us out. I ain't got time for that. Let me go first. and at least we get the opportunity to knock somebody. It's this way. So there are opportunities for things that are continue to be necessary, and right. That's the way I understood it. It's the outside, not the right side or the left side. Face the door. Oh, still want to do that. Why? Because we don't tend to eat in places where we're at home. We eat in a lot of since we've now integrated lunch counters and things. We sitting around and these folks can come in like they do massage parlors and start shooting up stuff. So I want to know when that strange fella's having a bad day walking into the restaurant, and I want to see him. I want to see him coming. And I can peep that. So there are some times when, yes, I think it's still time for some of this stuff to continue.
All right, Fatima, does it serve a purpose today?
I would say yes and no. I mean, I've said
Fatima, that's like, are you pregnant? Yes and no.
No, because some of these questions don't have like just a black and white answer. I am consistent in that you have to do what works for your relationship. I've said that a million times on this show. So it can serve a purpose if that's something that works for your relationship. And if you are someone who rejects it, then it doesn't serve a purpose. Does it serve a purpose in my relationship? Yeah.
Dark Q said, but look, Dark Q said it serves a purpose for our age group. I don't know what age group that is because I'm 20, Dark Q. So I don't know what age group you're referring to.
Fatima, that's like saying I need a hammer till I need a screwdriver. Like,
but that makes sense, Fatima. That it depends on your relationship if it serves a purpose or not. I get that. Steve, does it serve a purpose?
So I'm gonna tell y'all a secret. Yeah, you need chivalry because when you're able to get a woman to be in her feminine, she's a little bit more agreeable. So when you open those doors, when you are pulling the chair out, she accepts the leadership. That leads into the word that I like to use, the submission and the agreeableness. But I said the word submission, the long word, not submit, submission. Like it's a mission to get you to sub. Anyway, so so when we talk about those type of things, like when you're able to get her in that space, then you're able to assume your position as the alpha, the leader. Yeah, I said alpha too. You hit it again, DJ Pharaoh. And that's when that all works, when we all know our roles in the relationship. But, when we get to start emasculating and, you start doing what you're doing and everybody looking at the door instead of each other and having a good time at dinner, then, you might as well be hollering at the waiter or the waitress.
I think I want to correct this. Is that Dark Paradox? Am I reading that? Because these eyes after 40, they so horrible. I'm sorry.
I thought she was 20 something.
Shut up. Be quiet. 20 times 2 something. So, Steve, somebody in the chat posted that.
Oh, they've been going out for me on the chat. I've been seeing.
Yeah, they said that chivalry is for beta men. So there's a few that agree with you.
Chivalry is for beta men?
Yeah, that's what was posted a little bit earlier, that men, when I asked the question, do we need chivalry? And someone said, yeah, if you're a beta man.
Well, if you have blind chivalry, then I would say yes. But if you are even familiar with dominant submissive relationships in BDSM, then your dom is always going to be chivalrous and protect the sub, if we want to get into that type of thing. So there's always going to be a place of chivalry, because when you're the man, you protect the woman. But if it's something that's unwarranted, and as Fatima says, you out there like a wild wildebeest, you don't need no protection because you got your horns and your hoofs and your herd with you.
That was a nice shift.
As Fatima says?
As Fatima says, I like to refer to the wildebeest.
Oh.
So I wanted to clarify what the wildebeest are and what they do, how they get down with their horns and when they're braying and their hooves and trying to run over the poor man out here in these streets.
But
these are the poor men that you absolutely do not want to go on a date with. Men
Because you
who
will get left when you act inappropriately. Left, like the hand, left.
Absolutely, absolutely. So these are the men that you need to avoid. But I think that a lot of these complications can be solved with just some simple communication. Just having a conversation about what your expectations are. And then you give that person the opportunity to choose whether or not they want to do it. And I think it's also important to not say something like, well, are you chivalrous? Because that could look different to different men. So if there are specific things that you like, then, I like a guy to open the car door, then you say that, if they're right. So I think just being very clear about, and if you don't need any of that, then you can communicate that as well. Or there might not even be a reason to. But I think a lot of that could be cleared up. Just one second. I had a date recently. And and oh no. And so because I always do sit with my back to the door, because I know most men like to sit facing the door. And so I got in on that side and he sat next to me. And I kind of panicked for a minute because I was like, and then I realized like, well, he wanted to sit next to me. And so I'm like, oh, well, I sat here because I figured you would want to sit facing the door. Do you want me to sit on the other side? And he was like, yeah, I really would rather sit on the other side. And so I'm like, okay. So we got out and switched around. Done. Great.
Oh, so sweet of him.
Congratulations on date number 1.
That was so sweet.
That was not date number 1.
I mean, that was really nice. What was it? Bronx Tales. What was it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
There's a reciprocity to certain things, and certain things you can tell, right? So you open the door, let Ann sit down. Your door is still locked, still closed. What does she do? Is she supposed to lean over and get it? Or is she just supposed to sit there, while you go through and have to unlock your door too? I mean, thank you, Bronx Tale.
Lean over and get it. She should lean over and open your door.
And I'm gonna tell you what I was told. I was told you got automatic locks. I don't know what you sitting here want me to open the door for.
I mean, truly.
Okay, so
truly.
Right. So, but you, Dr. Guy, you know that. So somehow or another, you were brought into that kind of information.
Modeling. I saw that. So if I see it, then I mimic it. So the issue is a lot of people didn't see it to mimic it. And there was no one else to tell them this is what you should do.
Well, Dr. Mufasa, what I find interesting is women know every instance in where a man is not being chivalrous, but they don't understand anything that's reciprocitous. They can tell you everything you're doing wrong, but they don't know anything that they're supposed to do from the aspect of engaging in the chivalry.
How would they know if their mother was single and they didn't see their mother doing this? If we learn most of our behavior by modeling from watching it, if I don't see my mother doing that, how do I know how to engage now with my mate?
Exactly. That's called toxic femininity.
The symptoms are, not what the cure is.
Oh, hold up. You're not going to just talk over that. We're going to rewind. So now it's toxic femininity?
Yes, absolutely. Toxic femininity. Because what happens is that's just what brother was saying. How do you then require all of this, but not the reciprocal nature of what all? Remember earlier I said that we exist in harmony. And that means that everything has a reciprocal nature. And if you don't understand the reciprocal nature of what you're receiving, then you don't have the right to receive it.
You're going to learn today.
I think toxic femininity is born of the same place that reverse racism is born of. Those things do not exist. And it feels like anytime a dominant group is being challenged about their problematic behavior, they somehow have to create and come up with the reverse of it. So that's all I have to say about that.
I will take, Dr. Mustafa, I will say this, and this is just me taking ownership as a woman. I won't go with the title of toxic femininity, but I will take ownership of being what Steve calls an emotional terrorist. Now, I'm a reformed emotional terrorist, but that may have been along the lines of what you're referring to, some of that behavior. But again, that was my behavior. I presented as an emotional terrorist, but it wasn't toxic femininity. Like it wasn't no, it was just being an emotional terrorist.
Well, I mean, can we just say that's just the overall selfishness of some people in general? Not saying male or female, but just in general.
I'll go with that.
But, you know, I am slightly, you know, on the female side more than the male side. I'll say 60-40.
60-40 what?
Because of the entitlement syndrome that some women have been able to get away with having interactions with men and demanding more and doing less. I tend to think women tend to be a little bit more selfish than men overall, 60-40. That's all.
But women have only been able to do that because men have allowed them to.
That's recent. The simp culture is something recent, which I despise and abhor.
No boo-boo kidding. No boo-boo kidding.
What?
The simp culture has been around for a very long time.
No. I'm not saying it hasn't been around. I'm saying it's more prevalent. You know, you remember when we used to talk about it ain't tricking unless you got it, and I was like, it's always tricking.
All right.
You know what? DJ. It's time for our quick break. After the break, the phone lines will be open, you guys. So
light them up.
If you guys want to join the discussion, hit the phone lines. The number will be on the screen.
Light them up. Come see me. Yeah, 11 JV. Yeah, I'm serious. Women are selfish.
You should be here. You should be here with me, babe.
Guy Talk Unhinged, y'all. It's a hell of a show, y'all. Thank God for the hype train. Level 4 blown out. So much more to come. All right.
You should be here in the morning time when I'm making my breakfast. You should be here beneath me to feel me, to heal me. You should be here to wrap me, to trap me, and climb me. You should be here. I'm a good man and I work hard on my night job. You should be. Let me show you what you're missing every day. You should be. Once I get you, you ain't never gonna walk away. You should be. Well, I got more than just a bit and some money, girl. I wish you should be here. You should be here.
Guy Talk Unhinged, baby.
You should be here in the evening. Get the sneezing, teasing, forget your reasons. Why you should not, oh lady, you should see the tricks that I got. Oh, for your mama, especially yeah, be my lady. Let's get lazy and make babies. You should be. Let me show you what you're missing every day. You should be. Once I get you and down on the walkway, yeah. So I got more than just some good and some money.
Thank y'all again. Thank you, Guy Talk Unhinged. Affiliate status. That good status. You know what it is.
You should be here with me, babe. Girl, you know you drive me crazy. Girl, you know you drive me crazy. You should be here with me, babe. You should be here with me, babe. I just wanna drive you crazy. I just wanna drive you crazy.
Me, I'm super fly, super duper fly. With your hands up my thigh and go super duper high. See my apple pie. Tell me if you lie. Tell me if you lie.
Let's go.
Baby, got me tipsy, tipsy.
see all the me. You love,
I like that.
Tasty, baby. You send me crazy, crazy. Can I be a lady? I love that thing you say to me.
Jersey in the building.
Talking dirty. Can we get kinky tonight?
Chi-Town, what up? Everybody do a check-in. Let me know what city you in or where you from. You know what it is.
I like it when you do me. Can we get kinky tonight? Tonight. So many things on my mind.
No pun intended
Yeah.
by the song, all right?
Ooh, honey, got me so high, so high. I can't lie about the way you play me. If you want me, take me, send me crazy, crazy, baby. I love the way you taste me. You're so tasty like pastry. Can we get kinky tonight? Got so many things in my mind. Never seen a guy so fine. Like it when you do me. Can we get kinky tonight? Got so many things in my mind. When I leave,
Come on, Mary.
do you think about me?
You vibing.
When you're gone,
God Talk Unhinged.
can't wait till you get home. Home, home. You were wrong, so was I. So what are we gonna do? So tonight, I'ma try whatever you wanna do. It's up to you, and that's why I don't mind saying I love you, and that's why I don't mind saying I love you, and that's why I don't mind saying I love you, and that's why I don't mind saying I love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. You're my lady. You're my lady.
Hey, what's up, y'all? DJ Spinderella here. And when I ain't doing shit because I'm in quarantine, I'm definitely checking out my brother DJ Farrell. Slap him upside the head with another one like I taught you.
Don't think I'm sleeping looking at you. All of them wishing they could have you. And that's a beautiful factor. A bunch of them itching for you to scratch them. I'm trying to hide them with me. I'm trying to come with the rain. And I'm gonna beg it no, 'cause I want them to know.
Big shout.
My lady.
Hey, Marvelous.
Yeah.
DJ Richie Rich.
My lady. Yeah.
And everybody that's listening.
My lady.
Please leave a comment.
Mighty.
Say hello to everybody.
Mighty, mighty.
Win Diction. Thank you.
You're my little baby.
Jen 908.
My daughter, baby.
Yeah. Brown Eye.
Swear you're talking to town. And everybody wants to know what's going down. Babe, I know this.
I got some nice emotes. I see y'all.
Maybe at the liquor store. Maybe at the liquor store. Maybe at the health food stand. Yeah. They don't know that I'm your man. You're mine. You're mine. Baby. You're mine. Lady.
Chivalry is not dead.
Oh, my divine. My divine. Yeah. Oh, I pick you up every day. Call me your child. You're my lady. Every guy in the parking lot. Ocean Mom, yeah, you're my girl. And my heart and soul. And everybody wants to treat me so cold. But I know I love you and you love me. So I love you. I can tell now.
Thank you, DJ Pharaoh. So, before I forget, if you are a DJ or a streamer, please put your links in the chat. I want to make sure that you guys can follow them. And especially everyone that's new to Twitch, there are so many fire DJs on here and streamers that you are missing out on. So, make sure if you're a streamer or a DJ, put your links in the chat. DJ Pharaoh, DJ Richie Rich, he has some, I think it's like story time. I don't even know what he calls it, but it's so hilarious. Make sure you check him out. Disco Darren had his first show last Tuesday. I was supposed to be working at Tuesday on, I think it was like 11 o'clock. He's ridiculous. He'll be back on this Tuesday. Check him out. Disco Darren, if you're still on, make sure you put your link in the chat. So let's see here. Let's get back because we are getting ready to wrap up. But if you guys want to join our discussion and you have a comment or a question, the number is 214-810-0172. Give us a call. So you guys, do you think it makes a difference if a man is chivalrous in his relationship? Do you think it impacts her, or if a man isn't? Do you think it impacts his mate?
Depends on the animal.
Your thoughts?
So yeah, hello.
Hey, Fatima, she's on mute.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
I said, yeah, because if the animal that she's involved with is a jerk, then absolutely it is going to depend. But I do think that it depends on your mate. Like we said earlier, there are some women who don't require those things, who absolutely reject it. But for a woman who that's something that it makes her feel like a woman, right? To quote Shania Twain. So I think for women who, you know, those are things that make them feel more feminine, that make them feel like they're being treated like a lady. This might be something that makes her feel like this shows love, like this is a way that she receives love or reads love. Then yes, it is very important.
I think what the tag on to that is I guess you can't disrupt someone's value system. You know, if that's what makes you feel this way, whether you agree with it or not. So it has to be about the communication between the couple. You know, like this, is this what we doing or are we not? You know, because if I can't, this is part of my value system and I'm not willing to accept less. You know, okay, well then, you know, it was nice.
Well, I definitely go with that sentiment. I always like to use the examples from the animal kingdom. So if we're monkeys, then the way we bond is we groom each other. But if we're great white sharks, we don't have fingers, so we got to bite each other on the fin. So, you know, it looks different for each animal. So, you know, you might be a monkey, but you might be dating a great white shark, and she don't understand grooming. She just know how to bite you with them sharp teeth. And Dr. Lawan Muse, I don't recall jerk being an animal in the dictionary, just, you know, to...
You know what? I think we got a caller. Let's go to the phone lines.
Let's get it.
Hey.
Hey, hello.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I listened to you guys' show a few times already now, and there's a lot of things that I agree with Steve on, but kind of like, you know, his delivery is a little rough, but hey, it's part of being a red pill man. Me personally, I don't comment on the chivalry thing. I don't believe in chivalry. And the reason why I stated that it was a beta male thing, because I believe that it's a part of the female way of training a man. You know, she's training a man to the point to what she like and the things that she appreciates. So he's began being trained. I went on a date like that, and the woman sat in the car until I walked around and opened the door. And she would not do anything until I did it for her first. And I did exactly like the Bronx Tale. I opened the door and I locked my car back, and I waited for her to open the door for me, and she never did. So where there's no reciprocity, there's no growth. So if you can't do something for me, then I can't do anything for you. If you leave out your house and you forget your jacket and it's cold, I'm not willing to give my jacket up, but you can get inside of it. We can both be warm, but I'm not going to be cold so you can be warm. That's not going to happen.
You know what? I have to agree with you. I have a friend who she is so conditioned to having her car door open that even when her husband is not with her, she sits in the car and waits for another man who she might be riding with to open the door. And when there's no man at all, and it's just me and her in the car, she sits in the car and waits for the door to be open. And I'm like, boo boo kitty, if you don't get out this door, ain't no man in here. She is so conditioned to have her husband open the door. It's just autopilot on her. But I don't think I've ever seen her reach over and open her husband's door. So I think you're right about that. It probably is our way of conditioning men. I agree.
Thank you.
Thanks, caller.
Men.
To accept, press 1.
We got another caller, you guys.
Press 2.
And I want you to tell them women who out there trying to look cute. Stay cold with your dumb ass for trying to. You should have had a jacket on anyway, trying to look cute.
Hi, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi.
Hi.
He may need to mute like his.
Yeah, mute us in the background.
Mute the show in the background.
Okay. Okay, so men date up, men date down, men date across. And so all three men have a different characteristic. If a man is dating up, he's going to do every damn thing possible that he can to impress this woman. And everybody's talking all this shit about, I wouldn't hold the door open, or I ain't going to give you my coat. If you're trying to impress that woman, you will. So guys that date down, they're assholes. Get your own door, get your own coat, get your, so it really depends on the guy. What you really want, the situation you really need to be in is to date across, because that's where the respect is. I'm not going to do anything crazy. I'm not dating down. I'm not dating up. We're equally yoked. You can't have any intimacy unless you are equally yoked. That date up, date down shit, it doesn't fly. So everybody's talking all this shit about what they wouldn't do. Let it be some woman that they're trying to impress. They'll do everything.
You're going to learn today.
That's real talk.
What if you don't date to impress women?
Another one.
And that ain't gonna get answered, but just men don't typically date down, they cheat down.
That's true. I've absolutely never had a guy, if it was a situation and he looked at me and was like, "Are you cold?" And I said, "Yeah," him not give me his jacket. That's insane.
In your world.
Caller. Yeah, that's insane for a gentleman not to. But I agree with everything that he said. Like, if a man wants to impress a woman, he does whatever, right? He may not even be a chivalrous man, but for that woman, he will. He'll open the door, pull her chair out, do whatever it is, because he does want to impress her. And if he is dating down, she don't matter.
So once again, are you dating to impress somebody or not? I think we still need to go back to that. Are you simping? What is the man doing?
I really hate that word simp.
I'm sure you do.
How is it that being kind
Most women don't
and
like
being
it.
courteous? How is it that being kind and being courteous makes you less of a man or a simp?
There's a difference between being kind and courteous and simping.
Yeah, there is.
There is.
There's a difference between me being nice and tricking.
There is.
I don't know what that looks like.
Therein lies the problem.
You're gonna learn today.
I can tell you the difference. You know what the difference is, Fatima.
I do what?
You know what the difference is. I just want to be able to find my purpose in life, but I don't know what it is. What that sound like? I don't know what my purpose is, but I just want you to let me find my purpose in life, and I don't want to work, and I want you to take care of these kids.
You mean for that? You mean for that? Okay.
You know the difference.
Okay.
So I spent a lot of time in New Orleans. I can't tell you how many couples I done seen where the dude said, you know, that was your dumb duck ass for coming out here trying to look cute. You're gonna be cold or you'll learn.
There's a difference, but we got another caller, so we're gonna go to the phone. No, okay. All right. So there is a difference, and I don't know if the word simp is offensive, but I think it's a different type of man where I don't think a simp is a guy who's courteous and polite and respects women. That's not how I define it. I believe, for me, my definition of the simp is the man who lets a woman take advantage of him. And there's a distinct difference for me.
Now I can get with that, but I just don't like that word. But yes, if that's your definition of a man who allows himself to be taken advantage of, and we've had conversations about this, yes, that is a problem. But I feel like some of this stuff that Steve is saying, to me, it's just being kind and courteous. You saying, oh, you shouldn't have had your ass out here. You should have brought your coat. Well, she was out there looking cute for you.
Nah, she was good for herself. I don't care nothing about that.
She was looking nice for you.
If she got them monkey lashes on,
wait, let Dr. Mustafa get in there.
No, all I'm saying is, when does that happen? When
does that happen?
Looking cute for everybody who might be looking at her, or you know, that's what she's looking for. You need a coat. Take the coat. That's
no.
the point.
Are you all saying that women aren't dressing for their men?
For the man that she's going on a date with?
It depends on what kind of outfit you're talking about. Are we talking about the monkey lashes? No, that ain't for me.
No, that ain't for me.
The monkey lashes are not for their men.
If we talking about what kind of purse you matching, nah, that ain't for me.
Stop it.
No, I'm saying, like, if you talk about the monkey lashes, what kind of purse you got, the purse ain't for me. That's for the rest of them hoes to let you know what kind of chick you is. That ain't for me.
But the monkey lashes and the purse doesn't have anything to do with warmth. We're talking about a specific situation that you said, if she doesn't have on a coat, she's just gonna have to freeze. So this is not, and my point is, I think that that's pretty shitty, because obviously this woman had this outfit on and got herself together to look nice for you. Maybe she didn't realize it was going to be cold outside, or that y'all were going to be outside where she was going to be exposed to the elements. And the least you could do, if you're not going to be a gentleman enough to take off your coat and give it to her, is say, okay, like somebody said, well, I'll open my coat up and you can come get in here with me. But to just say that you'll look over and be like, oh, you better freeze, or you should have brought your own coat, you're a douche.
No. Now, I like this comment over here. If he didn't see his daddy do it, how would he ever know? You know, and so we've been talking about that the entire time, right? That's been what we've been saying. You ain't see nobody do it, then, you know, how would I know that that's the appropriate thing to do? Might be looking over, right? So, like, oh dang, you cold.
So what about?
I'm gonna be cold.
So what I'm saying is, why I got to be a douche? Why you just can't be the dummy that didn't check the weather? And maybe I don't want to be with a dummy.
Well, why you can't be better at planning dates and say, hey, make sure you wear something warm because we're going to be outside. But the reason why is because you don't really like women.
Oh, I love women.
No, you don't.
Wait.
No, you don't.
Can I address one of the questions in the comment section? Because I would love to know the answer to that. The question was, what are women called who get taken advantage of? If men are simps, what's the name for a woman that's getting taken advantage of by a man?
How is she getting taken advantage of? You need to be a little bit more specific.
Does it matter? She's getting taken advantage of.
I mean, is it financial? Is it sexual? I mean, the
same way that a man is getting taken advantage of, and we call him a simp, not we, you. How is it if the same concept?
The same concept of a man taking. Generally, that is a pay-for-play situation. I believe that's called gigoloing.
Okay.
Oh my God!
All righty.
Since you asked, I think that's what we're talking about. Or if she has been taken advantage sexually, generally they get the whole term. So,
okay. Quick shout out to DJ. I see her. I think I just saw her I did see DJ Infrared. Shout out to another Sora. Thank you for joining us tonight. And back to you, Steve. I don't think that's what it's called, but the point is there is no name for it. The point is there is no name for it. That's the point. There's no name.
Names. You just refuted the names I gave you. You just don't like the names. I gave you names.
No. Okay, Steve.
Well, the name for her. Like not
what's for her, not him. Right. The name for the woman.
What you mean?
What is the woman called who's getting taken advantage of by the man?
Oh, Mark.
Any of those.
Okay.
What?
Dr. Mustafa?
No,
a mark can be male or female. That's not.
Oh, so you want your specific own term that's not universal?
Run DMC has some back in the
but she's trying to make she's trying to make a point.
Right.
I understand. I'm just saying, like, it's funny that that we kind of go through this whole thing, and you are so selfish that you've got to have your own specific term. We can't.
No, I think the point is why do we belittle men in that manner, call them a simp for being a good guy, right? Like they always say, good guys finish last. So in the male's definition of a simp, he's a good guy. He's the one who's chivalrous, right? Someone said that in the chat earlier. The simp is the guy who's chivalrous. He's the beta man. Why is that seen in a negative light? Is the point?
Well, because patriarchy would argue then that women are supposed to be taken advantage of, right? And that's why there's no additional term other than woman, right? But there's a term for a man who's then, and that's better than calling him something that's anti his gender, would just refer to him as being a simp. Dude, you let that girl take advantage of you? He was a simp. That's how it is, because that's that patriarchy piece again.
Okay, we got a quick caller. We're gonna go to the phone lines real quick.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the woman who subscribes to that methodology is usually a codependent. If she's being taken advantage of by a guy, she's usually codependent.
Okay.
Well, hey, they told me that can't be a universal term. They want their own term, man. Codependent can be male or female, so we need something else according to them.
My issue with codependent is less about it being the own term and more about like that's not really how I would apply that.
Define it, yeah.
I wouldn't, from a clinical perspective, I wouldn't define a codependent person.
We're talking about a cluster C personality disorder.
If you're being taken advantage of and you don't defend yourself or you don't validate yourself, you're trying to impress somebody. It's usually because codependents are normally attracted to narcissists.
Okay.
And so we know what that cycle is like.
Oh, I'm sorry, caller. I haven't gotten any callers' names. Caller, can we have your name?
Lynn.
Glenn? Did you say Glenn or Lynn?
Lynn.
Oh, Lynn. Okay. All right. So I was trying to hear you said defining codependent, but someone who's codependent could be in the relationship with that person, but not taken advantage of by that person. They're just in the relationship, even if that person just doesn't want to be with them, but they'll stay with them. So it doesn't necessarily mean that that person is taking advantage of them. They just won't leave the relationship.
But narcissists take advantage of codependents all the time. That's not gender specific.
Well, narcissists take advantage of everybody, though. They're narcissists.
Right. They do. Right. Okay. We'll go with it.
You know what? This is not
if that's the term you go with for this particular person, I think we just don't have a term for ladies that we give specifically like we give to men. I think we unfortunately label men who are nice guys negatively, unfortunately. So, Steve,
what? I like nice guys. I just think they get taken advantage of by naughty women.
all right, but thanks, Lynn, for that comment. Did you have something else?
No, I'm listening. I'll jump in. I need to be on your panel, but anyway.
Lynn, send me an email.
I see you in there, brother. I see you.
Wait, Lynn, send me an email at guytalkunhinged@gmail, and I'll definitely bring you on the show.
Okay.
All right.
All right, cool.
Thanks.
All
right.
Call from.
We got another caller, you guys.
To accept.
I feel like we taking jail calls.
Hi, caller.
Hello.
Hi, caller. Can you hear us? Hello. Hi, and who are we talking to?
Cliff and Chelsea.
What up, Cliff?
C Dog, what's happening, baby?
What you got?
Huh?
What you got for us?
I got some comments about this chivalry thing and talking about beta and alpha.
Okay.
Don't get in trouble now.
Huh?
Don't get in trouble.
Oh my God!
I couldn't hear you what you said.
I said, don't get in trouble.
Right now?
He said, don't get in trouble, Cliff.
Okay. Well, I feel that chivalry. I disagree with the panel right now because they're referring as a beta man as chivalry and basically a nice guy. But chivalry to me is taught by your upbringing. It's taught as a kid growing up as a man. Being chivalrous means that you are, I guess, you cater to whoever. I mean, it doesn't mean that if I would get to the door first, I'm a chivalrous man. I will open up for whoever. If there's another man open behind me, I will open the door for him. It does not matter if you're a man or a woman, or if I am dating you or not. If it's a woman that I don't even know, I'm gonna open up the door. So I don't feel chivalry is an alpha or beta characteristic. Chivalry is to me is me saying that this is my queen. When I open up the door, I am the king, so she's my queen. So I'm gonna treat her as that.
Cliff.
So I disagree with this alpha and beta.
But you know what, Cliff? What you're describing sounds like it's someone who's courteous, right? Not that it's about alpha or beta. It's someone who's courteous, but also you're from the South, right? And so I think there's some culture that it really is true that there's a such thing as Southern hospitality. Like that's real talk. So I think some of that is just learned behavior that people in the South speak to people that they don't know, right? In Chicago, we walk past people we know and don't speak. So
hey, I want to ask Cliff a couple questions. Cliff, so could I use the word polite as a synonym for chivalrous and what your definition is? I think that's more or less what we're speaking to is having respect and being polite. And since you haven't been in the dating world as of recent, it looks a little different when we have some interactions with some of these new school women. So what you may have come into the game as understanding as being chivalrous and polite sometimes may be misinterpreted as you being a simp currently in this dating incarnation of 2021. That's more or less what I think we as the panel are saying. I grew up in the South and I'm polite, but I'm not always chivalrous.
Well, chivalrous is to me is also being polite, and that's the way I've been taught. It is not something.
So it's not it's not separate. It's the synonym. That's what you're telling me.
I think so.
I
think so.
I guess it depends on how you would talk, because I've been taught differently, and being chivalrous is something that I bestow on everybody around me. It does not matter your relationship to me.
Cliff, There's a question. Yeah. Were you taught that? Were you taught to do those things?
Yes, I was taught that as growing up to hold the door open. And if someone walks behind me, I still hold the door open, no matter who it is. Man, woman, whether I know them or not.
And things like opening a car door, those things were taught to you?
Opening the car door was something that was taught to me by my cousin and stuff like that. Ever since he's met his wife, he's always opened the door for her. Mm-hmm. He's always done that. Throughout his whole life, even to the day, he opens the door for her. So, no matter what. And he's alpha male. And that's
how old is he, if you don't mind me asking?
How old is who?
The gentleman you're referring to.
The gentleman I'm referring to, he's probably in his 60s now.
Right. So what I'm saying is, for that generation, being polite and having manners was the same thing as being chivalrous. What I'm saying currently now, there's a divide between those things.
Right. There is.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like chivalry has not been taught as a kid growing up to this generation.
Well, chivalry or manners for that.
Right. Chivalry or manners. Neither of them are being taught because there's a lot of disrespectful young men and young ladies that are growing up.
Right.
And they disrespect. Like, I remember where kids would see elderly people or just adults and they wouldn't curse. Right. Even if they were cursing before that, if they walked up on an adult, they would stop. But now they still curse. They don't care if it's an adult or an elderly person. So that whole concept of respect has just changed. And I think that's generational. So I agree with you, Steve.
But you know what? Let me add this, is that for certain, I think you're right. This whole conversation is that it is really about the generation. So we ask ourselves, who are we talking to? Right? Because a lot of the disagreements may have come from people from different generations. You know, because I think the people in one generation are saying the same thing, and et cetera. And so if we're trying to, I guess that's that dating across. I mean, some people would argue that women should date older men, you know, because men mature later. Mm-hmm. You know, that becomes that argument. And then they'll probably also be more inclined to be chivalrous or more polite or however you want to look at that at that particular time. Unless you're talking about a 20-something dating a 30-something, in which case the 30-somethings is probably the end of, you know, of when this whole thing just collapsed in the first place.
Well, I don't have no problem with a 20-year-old. So,
but that's because in your head you're a millennial.
Oh, okay.
And you are entitled.
I'm gonna tell you what's funny, Mustafa. I don't have any problem with the 20-year-olds. I don't have a problem with the 30-year-olds. Yeah, I don't have a problem with the 20-year-olds and the 30-year-olds.
That's because in Steve's head, he's a millennial. So, but thank you, Cliff, so much for that comment. I agree with you that
you're welcome.
Being chivalrous is being generous and polite and respectful. Thank you so much. Your wife appreciates that too, of 24 years. Thanks. We got one more caller and we'll prepare to wrap up.
What, already? Golly.
I know time flies when you're having fun.
Man.
Let's see.
Come on, one more jail caller. You have a call from?
Nope.
Thomas Correctional Facility.
Putting stuff on the book. All right. So, no, Cliff was the last one. All righty. So, as we prepare to wrap up, what was our consensus that we came up with as it relates to, is chivalry dead? Wait. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Answer that.
Yes, I think we came up with yes, but I think that it's dead in terms of latter generations. You know, I think that the older you are, the more you're still holding on to those traditional kinds of attitudes. But no one's talking to you now. Social media isn't directed towards you. Music isn't directed towards you. There's nothing that's directed towards you, so you don't count anymore. It's the folks in the majority, and they're not doing it, so it's dead.
So I disagree. I don't think that it is dead, and I don't think that it's alive for an older generation and dead for a younger. I have several young couples that I see, and I would say that the men in those couples are very chivalrous, or do things that I would consider as chivalrous. So I disagree. I don't think that it's dead, but I do think that um, I think that the issue is more because with younger generations, there have maybe been more single parent homes. And so I think because of that, like when we talk about that modeling piece, or having the cousin or the grandfather or the uncle to teach you certain things, like I think that may have been missing. And so that's the reason why we may not see it in as great of numbers, but it's absolutely still there.
Let me brace myself. Go ahead, Steve.
So, I like to give the animal references, right? So, as we look in the animal kingdom, we have a way that we look at animals when they are on the way out in decline. They're threatened species, vulnerable species, and endangered species. Chivalry is clearly on the endangered list. It does exist in some pockets. I can't tell you that it's not there because it is, but we are definitely, as a society, in a place where it's endangered. And when we talk about chivalry, I think that I'm glad that Cliff called in, because that gives us a lot of context into how all of those terms were synonymous: being polite, having manners, and chivalry as well. And since being polite and having manners is definitely on the endangered list, we definitely have to put chivalry on that list as well. So it just kind of depends on where you are, who you're dating, who raised them. And once you get a context of the person's background, then you'll know exactly what you're dealing with. So for those people out there who are on their first date or swiping right on Tinder, whatever it is you're doing, put that in your toolbox of questions to ask. Is, how do they feel about chivalry? What does it look like? And that might alleviate some problems you have down the road. And this is Steve, and these are my thoughts on a Sunday night. You heard me?
So, as it relates to is Chivalry Dead, I think somebody in the chat said it best, that I definitely think that it's still alive. I think it's for the people who want it, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, it doesn't matter, because I do see it being shown in individuals of all ages. I definitely believe that in my age group, we see it more because it was taught more frequently. Do I think that individuals should completely disregard a person if they're not? I would hope not, but unfortunately, I have been seeing that happen. But as Fatima said, just communicate. Like, so many things are happening in relationships because of poor communication. And in some future shows, we're going to talk a lot about communication because we talk a lot about relationships. So I do hope that you guys join us again and again and again. Tell folks about us. And Disco Darren, I am trying to get him on the show because he brought up a really good topic, and hopefully I'll have him on soon, about men delaying their launch and being like 30 some years old and living with their mamas. So
nothing wrong with that.
Boy, quit
I want to
playing.
get Disco Darren on.
Disco Darren, we wait.
You live where you can.
You're not gonna be 30 years old working
under the bridge.
30 years old working and still living with your mother and
Well,
not
I think there's a double standard because women do it all the time. And what's wrong with it? Nothing.
And that's why we bring in Disco Darren on that show to talk about it. With that being said, you guys, don't forget to Facebook it, tweet it, pass it on, tell everybody about God Talk Unhinged. And when y'all see me in these Twitch streets, please tell these folks I'm a woman. In fact, all woman. I am not a man. And shout out to all them sorors in the house.
Hey, when you see me open my door, that's all I'm saying. Open my door.
Shout out to the bros. My bad. My bad.
Open my door, and you can take the check too. I'm not offended. That doesn't hurt.
And I'm not a lurker. I'm not a lurker. I need y'all to know I'm not a lurker. I'll be in them streets talking. I'll be talking. So anybody that was lurking tonight, you better say something, because I don't like lurkers. I need you to talk. We about talking in the room. That's why it's called.
Darren be having them stories too. I heard them.
Talking in these streets over here. So don't be lurking. We don't like lurkers. If you want to be a voyeur, you need to go someplace else. If you come in here, boo boo kitty, you got to get into this conversation. We pulling people in. That's why we got a phone line, so you can talk to us, because we all about getting that tea and hearing it and giving it. All right.
Hey, we need some of Darren's stories.
Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
We do. That's why we gonna have this for Darren. He coming.
And I need a sponsorship. I had to take the tag off my Gatorade.
DJ streamers, put your links in the chat and please follow them if you're not already following them. Don't forget, you guys. Put your links in the chat.
Steve gets a punch. Oh man, that's my man. Look at that.
Yeah.
All right, Mustafa, appreciate you, bro.
Red, where's your link? Just go. Where's your link?
You know what I'm saying? It's hard, but it's real. Hey. Been thinking, baby, I finally took the time. The wound is healing now, and now I realize.
Nothing you can say that could ever make me stay. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Nothing you can do, 'cause when it comes to me and you, she's just better.
Bring it back, yeah. Bring it back, yeah. Bring it back, yeah. Bring it back.
Nothing you can say that could ever make me stay. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard, but it's real. You know what I'm saying? It's hard. Yeah. It's hard, but it's real. You know what I'm saying? It's hard, but it's real. Yeah. Hey. Been thinking, baby, I finally took the time. The wound is healing now, and now I realize.
Nothing you can say that could ever make me stay. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Nothing you can do, 'cause when it comes to me and you, she's just better.
Bring it back, yeah. Bring it back, yeah. Bring it back, yeah. Bring it back.
Nothing you can say that could ever make me stay. Let me tell you. Nothing you can do, 'cause when it comes to me and you, she's just better.
In every way, and every day I'm so thankful for her. Such a feeling inside.
Nothing you can say that could ever make me stay. Let me tell you.
Ooh, yeah. Oh.
Nothing you can do, 'cause when it comes to me and you, she's just better.
So I don't ever have to run away, and I don't ever wanna try to leave. The soft kiss on a summer day, it's the feeling that you're giving me, yeah.
She's always a friend of mine, and it came to me right on time. No tears left for me to cry, 'cause it was you, not you and I.
Nothing you can say that could ever make me stay. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Say yeah.
Oh. Nothing you can do, 'cause when it comes to me and you, she's just better.
Bring it back,
yeah.
Bring it back,
yeah.
Bring it back,
yeah. Hold up.
God Talk Unhinged. Thank y'all so much for watching.
You guys, I know, have been enjoying the break. Don't forget to follow DJ Pharaoh tomorrow night at 7 p.m., Thursday night at 7 p.m., Friday happy hour at 5 p.m., and definitely you don't want to miss Saturday Sex Room. DJ Pharaoh, don't forget to follow him and subscribe.
Softly through my door, come on in, my sweet. How have you been?